Ever dreamt of cruising on open water at top speed, wind in your hair, and the sound of raw horsepower echoing across the waves? Well, not all performance boats deliver on that promise. Today we're diving into 13 of the worst high-performance boats we never want to see back, from questionable designs to build quality nightmares. These vessels were more hype than horsepower. Stick around as we set sail through a sea of disappointment, and maybe a few laughs along the way. Donzi is practically synonymous with performance boating. Their classic designs and racing heritage have captivated speed freaks since the 1960s. So why is it topping this list? Because not all Donzis are created equal. Although the brand has delivered many legendary models, certain runs, especially in the late 1990s and early 2000s, were plagued by cost-cutting measures and spotty quality control. Some owners complained of structural cracks, gel coat pitting, and even issues with fuel tank placement that compromised handling. It's jarring to hear Donzi, once the gold standard for offshore powerboats, mentioned among the worst you'd never want back, but it's a testament that even the greatest names can lose their way. Rather than seeing them vanish entirely, hardcore fans would revolt. Many high-performance enthusiasts just want those flawed Donzi batches left behind. No one wants a Donzi that doesn't live up to the brand's storied reputation. Luckily, Donzi has tried to bounce back in more recent years, focusing on craftsmanship and performance that align with their legacy. But the black mark remains, reminding us that no brand is immune to mistakes, and that Donzi on the side doesn't always guarantee a smooth ride. Eliminator is a respected brand in custom performance boats, so seeing a 33 Daytona on this list might raise some eyebrows. But not every model is a home run, as the 33 Daytona was notorious for being finicky about setup. High-performance boats often need careful tuning, proper engine height, trim angles, and weight distribution. The 33 Daytona took this to extremes. If you didn't dial in every detail, you risked dangerous chine walk or unpredictable handling at speed. Additionally, the 33 Daytona's build process saw some inconsistencies. While Eliminator generally has strong craftsmanship, a handful of these hulls went out with imperfections or questionable layups. Combine that with an unforgiving design that demands expert-level piloting, and you end up with a boat that's more trouble than it's worth for the average boater. It's not uncommon to hear owners lament the constant tweaking and tinkering needed just to keep it stable at full throttle. Sure, when set up perfectly, it could be a rocket, but most folks don't have the patience or the budget to chase that elusive sweet spot. That's why so many in the boating world would rather see this particular model remain docked permanently. Hydrostream has a storied history among speedboat enthusiasts, offering some genuinely thrilling rides back in the day. Their lightweight pad-bottom hulls could fly across the water when paired with powerful outboard engines. But success brought rapid expansion, and that's where quality control starts slipping. Many Hydrostream owners from the later years discovered rotten cores, thin fiberglass layups, and transom failures that spelled disaster. For those lucky enough to own a well-maintained older model, there's still some magic, but the brand's legacy is colored by the number of boats that were rushed out with questionable build quality. Cracks would appear in high-stress areas, and the deck-to-hull bond wasn't always robust. These flaws proved catastrophic for a vessel that's supposed to zip along at speeds that can top 70 or 80 miles per hour. Because of these well-known structural issues, the Hydrostream name wobbled in the performance boat community, relegating many of their later releases to a cautionary buy-at-your-own-risk status. Regal is better known for stylish cruisers and family-oriented bow riders, so when they dipped their toes into the performance segment with the Velocity line, many boaters were intrigued. Sure, they tried to infuse the brand's usual flair with a racier vibe, but the finished product was polarizing to say the least. Some owners appreciated the comfortable seating and relatively plush interiors, which are rare perks in stripped-down speed machines. Yet the trade-off was a boat that felt too heavy and not particularly quick on acceleration. While the Regal Velocity boasted decent engine choices, including some robust stern drives, its deeper V-hull design didn't always translate into nimble performance. Once you hit choppy water, the ride quality felt uncertain and handling quirks began to show. Regal certainly scored points for making a boat that looked the part, aggressive lines and sporty detailing, but the Velocity ultimately fell short of providing the authentic, heart-pounding experience that dedicated performance enthusiasts crave. Over time, Regal reverted to focusing on the luxury and family cruising segments, leaving the Velocity behind as a well-intentioned but underachieving experiment. Bayliner, a name known to produce some decently affordable family boats, once tried to wade into performance territory with the Bayliner Cobra. It had a flashy, sporty profile intended to attract gearheads on a budget. For a while, it succeeded in drawing curious buyers looking to transition from day cruisers to something with a bit more punch. But let's just say the bite of this Cobra was never particularly venomous. The boat's construction was famously lightweight, and in theory that might have helped with speed. In practice, the hull flexed in ways that high-performance enthusiasts found alarming. Engine choices included outboards and stern drives, but neither could mask the Cobra's fundamental flaws: lack of rigidity, questionable durability, and an overall sense that it was trying too hard to be something it wasn't. Reliability issues, from electrical components to structural stress cracks, further tarnished the brand's attempt at going fast and furious. Veteran boaters often scoff that the Bayliner Cobra was a marketing gimmick, an entry-level trap for speed hopefuls. While there are still a few around that owners have babied, the vast majority never lived up to the hype, which is why the Cobra has slithered out of the spotlight. Crestliner is famous for its aluminium fishing boats, so the Rampage was quite a departure. Built in an era when everyone wanted a slice of the high-performance pie, Crestliner tried to create a speedster with an aluminium hull. While aluminium can be sturdy and lightweight, it also comes with challenges, especially if you're aiming for razor-sharp performance. The Rampage never seemed to find that sweet spot of weight distribution, often leading to erratic handling that left drivers on edge. Worse, the fit and finish didn't match what high-performance buyers expect. The interior felt Spartan rather than sporty, and the ride was loud enough to make conversation difficult thanks to the hull material. Add to this the corrosion concerns in saltwater environments, because not all models were adequately protected, and you have a boat that quickly turned off many potential enthusiasts. Crestliner soon recognized that it wasn't equipped to dominate the performance realm and quietly retired the Rampage. While they remain a respected name in fishing circles, the Rampage stands as a lesson that not every builder can pivot to high-speed thrills without serious engineering chops. The Caravelle Interceptor entered the scene with big talk of speed and sporty style. At a glance, it looked fast, especially with its sleek lines and bright gel coat that begged for attention at the docks. Some models boasted cruiser engines that, at least on paper, sounded ready to tear up the waterways, but the dream sank when owners started noticing how cheaply the hull was constructed. Stress cracks appeared in areas that should have been rock solid, and the ride quality was choppy at best. Build quality aside, the Caravelle Interceptor tried to sell itself on affordability, which did attract weekend warriors looking for an entry-level performance boat. Sadly, the lower price tag meant corners were cut in laminate schedules and overall engineering. Instead of gliding over the waves with confidence, you'd often end up bracing yourself for hard landings, and sometimes water found its way on board in rough conditions. Despite the slick marketing, the Interceptor's structural concerns and lackluster handling made seasoned boaters swear off the brand. If you ever spot one afloat, consider it a cautionary tale rather than a worthy contender. Campion once made a name for itself with decent family boats, but the Chase series was supposed to crank things up a notch, giving them an edge in the high-performance sector. The reality was less thrilling. While the hull design aimed to be aggressive, many owners griped that it never quite delivered the adrenaline rush it promised. Engine options ranged from moderate to powerful, but even the biggest engines felt underwhelming due to the hull's suboptimal running surface. A notable letdown was the questionable balance between cockpit comfort and performance design. You'd expect a dedicated go-fast model to have a well-thought-out seating arrangement that keeps you stable while slicing through waves at high speeds. Instead, you got a cramped cockpit that did little to inspire confidence. Throw in some quality control problems, like loose fittings, rattling hardware, and flimsy upholstery, and the Campion Chase simply never caught on as a true performance contender. It remained overshadowed by better engineered craft that handled sharper, accelerated faster, and lasted longer. When the hype died down, so did the Chase line, leaving us with a reminder that not every brand can excel in the high-speed game. The VIP Vindicator arrived in the mid-price performance boat segment with a flashy name and an even flashier color scheme. The marketing campaign boasted sleek design cues, with hull lines reminiscent of more established speedboats. But talk to those who actually owned one and the story shifts dramatically. Many reported mediocre performance at best, thanks to a hull that just didn't grip the water the way a proper performance boat should. In tight turns, the Vindicator had a habit of leaning awkwardly or feeling skittish underfoot, which is never a comforting trait when traveling at high velocity. What about the engines? They ranged from moderate stern drives to smaller block setups, which theoretically could push the boat to decent speeds. In practice, the hull's inefficiency squandered that potential. Worse still, the fit and finish felt subpar. Loose seat mounts and shoddy upholstery hinted at corners cut during manufacturing. The VIP name might have sounded prestigious, but in reality, the Vindicator was far from being a true head-turner for speed enthusiasts. Ultimately, the brand's reputation took a hit, and these underperforming boats drifted into obscurity, never to be mounted by those who crave genuine high performance. You might think the name Countach would resonate with exotic glamour, thanks to a certain Italian sports car, but the Raven Countach was more style than substance. Initially, folks were drawn to its angular lines and aerodynamic styling, believing it would deliver the speed and handling of its land-based namesake. Sadly, once on water, this boat behaved more like a drifting barge than a streamlined missile. Owners quickly discovered that the hull design struggled in choppy conditions and had trouble maintaining stable speed without a fight at the helm. Performance aside, let's talk comfort. The seating arrangement and cockpit layout were criticized for lacking support at higher speeds. Imagine racing across the lake only to have your passengers sliding around, clutching onto anything within reach. It's not exactly the thrill ride you'd hope for. To make matters worse, mechanical reliability wasn't the Raven Countach's strong suit. Some owners reported repeated breakdowns in components that you'd expect to handle a bit of aggressive boating. The boat tried to capitalize on an evocative name, but ended up leaving a sour taste. It's one vessel that made big promises, yet flopped so hard that few enthusiasts miss seeing it around today. You'd think a name like Celebrity Firestar would signal something flashy, powerful, and downright thrilling. The marketing certainly tried to push that narrative, but behind the bold stripes and eye-catching logos was a boat that wasn't built to withstand serious high-speed escapades. At moderate throttle, it felt okay, comfortable enough for a day cruise, but once you tried to push the Firestar past its comfort zone, hull imperfections became very apparent. A harsh ride, heavy bow steer, and inconsistent trim response made it a handful in rough water. On top of performance woes, the Celebrity Firestar suffered from mid-grade materials that aged poorly. Over time, owners reported stress fractures, fading gel coat, and even transom issues. Not exactly what you'd want if you're chasing a durable performance vessel. Celebrity attempted to fix some of these problems in later runs, but word had already spread that the Firestar was more spark than flame. As a result, it never became the success story the company hoped for. These days, it's remembered as an ambitious misfire that failed to ignite the hearts of thrill seekers. Larson is a brand that delivered some decent mid-range runabouts over the years, but the Senza line tried to break into performance waters with mixed results. First impressions were positive. The styling was sleek, the cockpit layout was fairly inviting, and the engine packages offered a bit of variety. Yet, owners who cranked the throttle beyond a leisurely speed discovered that the Senza wasn't as stable or confident as it looked. It tended to porpoise if conditions weren't glassy smooth, and the steering could feel vague when attempting tight maneuvers. The hull's design, while not inherently terrible, lacked the engineering refinements found in true performance boats. As the speedometer climbed, so did the sense of unease. Complaints also emerged about subpar hardware, from cleats that worked themselves loose to insufficiently braced seat frames. The results were not catastrophic, but they certainly didn't inspire trust. While the Senza name endured in some form for a while, Larson never quite shook off the boat's reputation for being all style and not enough substance. It remains a cautionary footnote for those who assume a sharp profile automatically translates to thrilling performance. Slickcraft was established by Leon Slickers, an iconic name in boating for his work at Crestliner and Tiara. While the brand had an interesting start, some of their later models tried to shoehorn performance into traditional runabout designs, resulting in a muddled identity. The hulls were decent in calm waters, but once you tried hitting big speeds or rough chop, the boat's weaknesses were exposed. Owners reported porpoising and difficulty trimming the boat to find that sweet balance at higher velocities. Construction was also a mixed bag. Slickcraft had a run of boats that suffered from lamination issues, leading to concerns about longevity. Some owners recall discovering areas where the fiberglass and resin didn't bond properly, which is a nightmare in any vessel claiming performance status. Despite a loyal following for older models, the Slickcraft name lost its sheen when more advanced manufacturers upped the ante with modern hull designs and state-of-the-art materials. Ultimately, Slickcraft couldn't keep pace, and the brand's performance forays drifted off into obscurity. Jokes aside, these 13 boats showed us that not every high-performance promise turns into a thrilling reality. From shoddy builds to dreadful handling quirks, they serve as cautionary tales in a world where speed and durability go hand in hand. If you enjoyed this deep dive into what not to buy, smash that like button and share your own horror stories in the comments. And if you want more boat breakdowns, performance reviews, and a dash of humor on the high seas, hit that subscribe button and join the crew. Hope you found this video helpful. See you next time.